In the world of comic books, villains come in all shapes and sizes, but few are as cunning and dangerous as Kang the Conqueror. Hailing from the future, this time-traveling conqueror has set his sights on the Marvel Universe, threatening to rewrite history and bend it to his will. With his advanced technology and mastery of the time stream, Kang is among the most formidable foes the Avengers have ever faced. So how did this ruthless conqueror come to be? Join me as I delve into the origin of Kang the Conqueror, a character first introduced in the pages of Avengers issue number 8 by the legendary creative team of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. From his first appearance to his alternate reality counterparts, we'll take a deep dive into the origin of the character and explore what makes Kang one of the most memorable and exciting villains in comic book history. But we can't start the tale of Kang without talking about his world, Earth 6311. This Earth is a universe that didn't experience the repression of the Dark Ages, allowing technology to flourish as it did in the main reality during the 19th and 20th centuries. Man had traveled to the moon, set up a colony, and desiring independence, started a 6-month war resulting in the moon's destruction. Obviously, the moon's destruction had a catastrophic result on the planet. Falling meteors and tidal waves nearly wiped out every continent except for a few pockets of humanity here and there. The humans that survived rebuilt civilization, started to develop once again, and fell into a cycle of war and rebuilding. This is the state in which a scientist from another universe arrives. This scientist is Nathaniel Richards, not Kang but his ancestor, the father of Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, who had traveled to this alternate reality using a time machine. Unintentionally arriving on this alternate Earth, Nathaniel decides to use his scientific prowess to bring this planet into a golden age and becomes known as the Benefactor. 1,000 years later, the descendant of Nathaniel Richards, also named Nathaniel, finds himself growing bored with the peace and abundance of his time, resentful that the only adventure and action one could find is on TV. So one day he decides to visit the ruins of his ancestor and discovers a time machine. He refits the time machine to look like a sphinx and travels to ancient Egypt with the intent to gather knowledge and artifacts from across time. Unfortunately, his time machine is damaged when he arrives in Egypt. But making the best of his situation, and through the power of his technology, he is revered as a god and rules over Egypt, calling himself Rama-Tut. The first appearance of Nathaniel Richards in Marvel Comics would be in Fantastic Four issue number 19. However, the rest of his background would be given in later years. In issue number 19, the Fantastic Four used time travel to go to ancient Egypt seeking a unique herb, but ended up becoming a slave to Rama-Tut. Using his knowledge of history, Nathaniel believed that he could overcome the Fantastic Four's powers and make them his slaves. Still, the heroes manage to beat him, and he escapes into the time stream, revealing that he had actually repaired his time machine at some point. While traveling in space, Nathaniel, still in his Rama-Tut guise, comes upon Dr. Doom floating in the void, nearly at his death. Rama-Tut reveals to Doom that it was his time platform that he used, and believes Dr. Doom could be his ancestor. However, both men contemplate the idea that they are the same person from different periods, and not wanting to create a time paradox, the two go their separate ways. Now, what I just said about Nathaniel believing Dr. Doom to be his ancestor contradicts to what I said earlier about the original Nathaniel Richards. That's because when this story came out, Doom was the only character in Marvel known to have created a time travel device, the same one that the Fantastic Four used to travel to ancient Egypt. And that idea that maybe Dr. Doom is the ancestor of Kang has been going on for decades, even now in Marvel Comics. But Fantastic Four issue 273, with the original Nathaniel Richards coming to Kang's Earth, was written in 1984, just over 2 decades after the appearance of Rama-Tut. So to me, that retcon is the definitive origin of Nathaniel Richards, making him the descendant of the Richards family, not Doom. Still, Marvel seems intent on ignoring their own continuity. But back to Rama-Tut. After his encounter with Doom, he decided to clad himself in similar looking garb and went forward as the Scarlet Centurion for a very short time. Under this guise, Nathaniel travels back a few months into the past to the founding of the Avengers. Coming to them as a benefactor from the future, the Scarlet Centurion promises the Avengers that they can create a utopian Earth. But first, they have to remove all of their superhumans from the equation. So the Avengers start by taking out the Fantastic Four, followed by the X-Men, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. Systematically taking out all the heroes, followed by the villains, and eventually becoming something akin to dictators. With these evil Avengers as his last obstacle to conquering this Earth, the Scarlet Centurion sets up a plan to pluck the modern Avengers from the time stream, and sets them up to defeat the evil Avengers. While his plan succeeds, the tenacity of the current Avengers roster allows him to foil the Scarlet Centurion's plot. Defeated once again, Nathaniel temporarily readopts his Rama-Tut identity and heads into the time stream. Due to interference from a time storm which is actually caused by a future version of Nathaniel calling himself Immortus, Nathaniel Richards ends up in the 41st century finding a war-torn future. Within a short time, Nathaniel mastered the technology of that era, technology which the savage brutes of that time couldn't even grasp. Using that technology, Nathaniel amassed an army and within weeks had taken over the world, earning himself the name Kang the Conqueror. But he quickly grew tired of this dying world and decided to conquer the 20th century. So in Kang's first appearance in Avengers issue number 8, Kang would arrive in what at the time was the year 1964. With the threat of his future technology, he demanded that the Earth's leaders bow down to him. Enter the Avengers, who at the time are made up of Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, and Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, plus Rick Jones, a longtime friend of the Hulk, who is kind of a sidekick / mascot for the Avengers. The Avengers lose to Kang quickly, mainly because they can't comprehend Kang's futuristic technology, though the Wasp and Rick Jones manage to escape. While the world prepares to face Kang, Rick Jones gathers the Teen Brigade, a group of teenagers that used to act as a communications network for certain heroes. You really don't hear much about them in Marvel Comics anymore. But Rick Jones, along with the Teen Brigade, feigns subservience to Kang, who readily accepts them into his ranks and allows them onto his ship, where of course they free the Avengers. The Avengers continue to struggle against Kang's technology, but in a last-ditch effort, he tries to destroy them using radiation. They manage to reflect it back at him, and since his suit can only absorb so much radiation, he admits defeat and heads back into the time stream. Of course, that wouldn't be the last time he goes to the 20th century or even the 21st century. Over the years, he would have more battles against the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, occasionally fighting alongside villains like the Masters of Evil and Doctor Doom, and at other times fighting against those same villains. He and Doctor Doom would become something like rivals, and either because they are equally matched or because Kang still thinks he might be Doom's descendant, they never really defeat each other. Now I know you want to hear about all the different versions of Nathaniel Richards, but first I want to address some retcons of Kang's origin. The origin of Nathaniel Richards and Kang have been toyed around with for years. One of the most notable instances was in Young Avengers. In this story, Nathaniel Richards at 16 years old was met by his older self Kang at what would have been a pivotal point of his life, as he was about to have his throat slit by a school bully, something his older counterpart had experienced. The older Kang sought not only to prevent this, but to get Nathaniel started on the journey to become Kang at an earlier age. However, after explaining his history to the younger Nathaniel, Kang is absolutely rejected because Nathaniel doesn't want to become a villain. So instead he steals Kang's armor, goes back to the 21st century, and creates the Young Avengers. Though eventually he returns to his time and it's assumed that he naturally progresses to being Kang. Another recent retcon, which happened in the 2021 series Kang the Conqueror, saw a familiar story to what happened with Iron Lad. In this case, Kang went to the 18-year-old Nathaniel after he had had his throat slit, and he came to train Nathaniel so that he would become Kang but not make all of his mistakes. This younger version of Nathaniel agrees to be trained, but in his first year of training, he breaks ties with Kang after Kang kills an innocent group of people, including a girl he had fallen in love with. And it's not like Nathaniel had no idea who Kang was. The young man definitely wanted the glory and the adventure that comes with being Kang, but that's largely because of the society he came from. In his words, he came from a very peaceful but also very sterile society, meaning physical touch wasn't a normal occurrence. So when he met this girl in prehistoric times, just holding hands with her was enough for him to fall in love. When Kang took that away, Nathaniel decided that he wanted to destroy Kang. So he took Kang's suit and went on a journey to kill Kang, as well as save different versions of the girl he fell in love with, named Ravonna. And in doing everything he could to avoid living the same life as Kang, he later learns that he did pretty much everything exactly the same, albeit he started at an earlier age. And the message that the older Kang was trying to drill into Nathaniel was never love, which Nathaniel, after becoming Kang himself, ends up teaching his younger self, continuing the cycle. This retcon seems like it'll be the origin of Kang going forward. They may mess with it again, but a large part of explaining that retcon leads into what I want to talk about next, Ravonna. Ravonna Renslayer was introduced in Avengers issue number 23 as the daughter of King Corellius. the ruler of the final holdout territory resisting Kang's rule in the 40th century. Kang spared their lives because he had fallen in love with Ravana, but she rejected him because he was a commoner. Believing that he could win her heart if he proved his battle prowess, Kang summoned the Avengers to the 40th century, but Ravana instead conspired with the Avengers to help take back her kingdom from Kang. Kang would defeat their combined forces with his overwhelming military might, but instead of killing the royalty of this newly conquered kingdom as was part of his code, he spared them. This mercy won him the love of Ravana, but the hatred of his second-in-command, Baltag, who attempted to assassinate him. Ravana stepped in the way of the blast, saving Kang's life and professing her love for him with her dying breath. This scenario actually ended at least 2 different ways due to a divergence in the timeline. I won't get into all the circumstances that created the divergent Kangs in this video, but let's say that we have Prime Kang and Divergent Kang. The Prime Kang, using his mastery of the time stream, managed to pluck Ravana from time at the moment of her death, killing that version of Kang, while a Divergent Kang had kept their dying Ravana in stasis, hoping to one day revive her. And this also has been slightly retconned in the 2021 Kang the Conqueror series, because when the younger Nathaniel Richards that I talked about earlier faced the death of Ravana, he started finding different versions of her throughout time. This is due to him taking the essence of Ravana and injecting it into the time stream, creating an infinite number of Ravanas throughout the multiverse, giving Kang an infinite number of chances to save her. Though at least for the Prime Kang, those chances tend to end in failure. It's important to talk about Ravana because Kang primarily has 2 motivations behind everything he does: his love of victory and his love for Ravana. Though his love for Ravana hasn't been the focus as much in the last decade or so of Marvel Comics up until the 2021 series, but she did appear in the Loki TV series as Judge Renslayer, so I am interested to see how they adapt her story going forward in the MCU. Let's briefly talk about the different identities that Nathaniel Richards has taken. I've already talked about most of them, such as Nathaniel's first alter ego, Rama-Tut, when he went back in time and ruled ancient Egypt until he was thwarted by the Fantastic Four. His second and very short-lived identity was the Scarlet Centurion when he tried to pit 2 different Avengers teams against each other. I mentioned the divergent Nathaniel Richards who became Iron Lad and joined the Young Avengers, and of course there's Kang. But I don't believe that I've talked about Immortus. Immortus for many years was portrayed as the inevitable end result of Kang, though it was 10 years after his first appearance that he was revealed to be an alternate version of Nathaniel Richards. As this version of Kang got older, he slowed down on the conquering. He became a scholar, even being approached by the Timekeepers, whose job was to monitor and fix divergences in time, to be put in charge of 7 millennia. From his place in a dimension called Limbo, where time didn't exist, he studied time and attempted to undo the damage to the time stream caused by his younger self. While in this position, Immortus also manipulated events in history, especially those parts concerning Kang. This role was reflected in his MCU counterpart, who in the Loki series was shown to have influenced the entire continuity of the MCU after having won the battle against his counterparts and conquered all of time. I know this wasn't the best explanation of how the alternate Kangs exist. His history is incredibly chaotic and hard to follow if you haven't read the comics. Even reading the comics, it's still a bit confusing to me, so if you have questions, feel free to post those in the comment section. In terms of his abilities, Nathaniel Richards in all his incarnations has no powers of his own. But using advanced technology, he is a master of time manipulation, able to travel through different eras and manipulate events to suit his needs. His use of technology allows him to create powerful energy blasts and force fields, while Kang's armor gives him enhanced durability and the ability to fly. In addition to his physical abilities, Kang is a skilled strategist and tactician. He has a vast knowledge of time, past, present, and future, which he uses to his advantage in battle. On top of it all, he is a master manipulator, able to control events and people to achieve his goals. Kang's skills and technology make him a formidable opponent for any hero or villain in the Marvel Universe. In addition, his complex origin story and many appearances throughout time and space make him an enduring and powerful villain. Kang the Conqueror was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1964. The character was created during a time when comics were still fairly science fiction oriented, and the idea of a time-traveling villain was a fresh and exciting concept. Kang's creation was also a way to bring in a new villain for the Fantastic Four, which was one of the most popular comic book series at the time. Kirby and Lee also saw potential in the character for exploring themes of power, ambition, and the consequences of time travel. For example, Kang's ambition to conquer the past from ancient Egypt to the 20th century was a way to reflect on the human nature of power and the dangers of rewriting history. In addition, having multiple versions of the same character, each with their own agenda, allowed Marvel to have different interpretations of the character and storylines. Kang is a must-see villain for any Marvel fan, and his appearance in comics like Avengers issue number 8, issue number 69, Fantastic Four issue number 19, and Avengers Forever are essential reading for understanding this iconic character. And with Kang's return to the MCU, played by Jonathan Majors in the upcoming film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, fans can expect to see more of Kang's time-traveling adventures and his quest for world domination on the big screen. If you have any questions related to Kang the Conqueror, please post those in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you never miss out on a new video. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.